Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down with fellow enthusiasts to talk about what's going on in the technology, business, and gaming world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and today's the Friday episode, so obviously I hope you guys enjoy the talk I had with Get Flanked. I was really excited to do that episode, and now I wouldn't say today's more of a laid back episode, but it is going to be a little bit more fun. Well, not more fun, but I think really the proper term to use is the usual stick. But obviously you guys voted on today's episode, so we're going to talk about the Note 10. And this is one that a lot of people have been talking about, especially because the Note 10 as a whole is a very confusing phone. And let me explain. So let's discuss, what does the Note 10 offer? So let's actually break down what are we getting with this phone, because I think that's the most important to understand. Because obviously, yes, it is considered, Samsung's power user phone. The Note line has always been considered the heavy hitter. It's always the phone that, if you like doing a lot of signing documents on your phone, or you say prefer a little bit more power in your phone, then overall the Note is what's considered the power user's phone. And I'm not so sure that this is the power user's phone anymore. But let's break it down. So what does the Note 10 offer? So the Note 10 obviously comes with the usual flagship specs of the year. So a Snapdragon 855, not a plus model. So let's keep that in mind, because that's going to be handy in a little bit. 8 to 12 gigabytes of RAM, obviously up to 512 gigabytes of storage on the phone, but then you also get the micro SD card expansion up to a terabyte. You obviously also get the, what's it called? You get UFS 3.0. So that nifty little feature that was really only on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but it was on the Galaxy Fold, but it didn't launch. UFS 3.0, what that essentially means is the read speeds of the SSD drastically increase. I believe it is read or write. We should be checking on that, but the whole premise of that is UFS 3.0 essentially more than quadruples, really more than triples it. I think that's a safe assumption. Quadrupling, depending on what they use inside of it. But it essentially makes the phone operate a lot quicker with the internal storage. So the internal storage is gonna run a lot faster than traditionally. And it comes in very handy. It makes the phone very snappy, makes applications open a little bit quicker. So it comes in handy. And obviously, like I said, the only phone that had that on the market was the OnePlus 7 Pro. But I want us to keep the OnePlus 7 Pro in the discussion, especially because it comes in handy. So, typical flagship specs. 2 downgrades though. So there's obviously some draws this time. And the Note, it's kind of sad that I have to say there's drawbacks with the Note. And obviously the main one, the Note was split into 2 phones. It's the Note 10 and then the Note 10 Plus. Both of the Note 10s no longer have headphone jacks. So for many people that's very annoying, because the Note 10, how Samsung always was with their ads. They always we'll never get rid of the headphone jack. Apple, who would get rid of the headphone jack? And then because they got rid of the headphone jack, they took down all their ads. So yeah, they're kind of dumb for that. I personally don't agree with removing the headphone jack. I still don't think we're at the point that we can say that Bluetooth audio is overall the better choice, because we never can say that, and I highly doubt we ever should. Because like we mentioned in the conversation with Juan, there's major benefits that come with wired headphones. Like, we can get Bluetooth to sound just as good. It's just the battery in the headphones is what's the main problem, because we want headphones that you can fix on your own and that will last essentially until you break them completely. And that's kind of something with Bluetooth audio that's not really a good selling point. Like, we can make them active noise canceling and stuff like that, but it's not going to do us any favors. But that's aside the point. So they got rid of the info jack and the Note 10 model. Well, actually 3 drawbacks, if I'm being honest. The regular Note 10 no longer has the micro SD card slot, and its display is a 1080p display. So when it comes to the micro SD card slot, this isn't the first time Samsung has done this. They did it with the Note 5, and in the Note 5, people were pissed, like livid, that they got rid of that micro SD card slot. And then what happened when they brought back the Note the next year? They put it back because they're like, okay, we probably shouldn't get rid of it. Now, the 1080 display is a really interesting one because Samsung, from recent memory and all the phones that they had, all of them have had a 1440p display. There's never been a Samsung phone that doesn't have 1080p. Yes, it's still a beautiful 1080p, but it's still weird that they decided to do this. Even though, yes, when you get a Samsung phone, like any modern Samsung phone, it's naturally set to 1080p. You have to go into the settings and turn the resolution to 1440p, but you know it's there. The problem is, it makes it interesting that Samsung roasted Apple for having I'd say a 720p in that range display on the iPhone XR. They roasted them for that, yet they lowered the resolution of the Note 10 for no reason. And they also limited how much storage and RAM you can get on it. So they capped it at 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, albeit it's still very fast storage, and that's that's overkill for RAM. But obviously the lack of micro SD card expansion is really annoying. And this is kind of something that people have been asking me, and I'll break it into 2 questions. Is this, let's put it like this. Is the Note 10 an upgrade over the Note 9? And the second question would be, are they trying to force you to go to the Plus version? I'm going to answer the second question first because the first one's a little bit trickier, but I do believe the second question, yes. I believe they are pushing everybody to go toward the Plus version. I think that's obviously what they're doing. They're basically enticing consumers, hey, let's push you towards the Plus version. And let's not even get started with the regular version because, okay, I get it. We want a more manageable Note. People have been asking for a more manageable version of the Note series because to them it felt too big. And that's understandable. But they did a lot to make you compromise there. And it's not good compromising either. They lowered the battery to 3,500. They obviously lowered the display to 1080p. They got rid of the micro SD card slot. They got rid of the headphone jack. And they limited how much expandability you get with it. And based on early reports that Joshua Vergara talked about in his latest video about the Note 10, the battery life's not looking really good on the Note 10. And maybe that's with pre-production software, so I want to make sure that we emphasize this. It's probably pre-production software, but that's very concerning that the Note, which has always been advertised as the all-day phone, the power user phone, isn't performing that well. And it's kind of interesting. And obviously the Plus version, yeah, this thing got everything. They kept the micro SD card slot, goes up to 512, it has everything you would need, essentially. It has the micro SD card slot, no headphone jack, but 1440p display, same amount of cameras, 6.7-inch display, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I do believe they are essentially pushing people, especially when they're charging $949 for the base model and then $1,049 for the Plus version. It definitely seems to me like they're trying to entice people to, hey, spend that extra $100 and you get the Plus version. You get everything you wanted, right? And I think that's definitely Apple, even Apple, and I'm not going to defend Apple on this, but even they're not dumb enough to do that because that would piss off their consumer base. And because that's what everybody does. It's what Samsung does with the Plus versions and with the S10 lineup, the Plus version and the regular version, is they don't change the display resolution. The size changes. Obviously, battery will be different because that's expectable, but it will keep all the same features. Everything will be the same. It's just bigger screen, bigger battery. That's all you get different. And it's weird that Samsung decided to take this route with the Note and limit the Note. And I think that was a very bad call. I think this will definitely pissed off a lot of consumers. That's why I kind of had to title this episode, Is It an Easy Skip? And present that question. Should you skip the Note 10? And, we're going to keep answering that. And I think the easiest way to answer that question is by answering the other question I brought up was, is this an upgrade over the Note 9? And I'm very hesitant to say that it is, because you essentially took steps backwards, essentially, is what they ended up doing. Obviously, yes, the Note 9 comes in one size and everything, and the main upgrades that came with the Note 10 are mainly software improvements. They didn't talk about specs during the presentation if you actually watched it closely. They didn't. They didn't go around bragging about specs and everything. They focused on features. They focused on the partnership with Microsoft. They focused on, Adobe Rush and things like that. They focused on the new camera software that's implemented with the camera. They talked about the gaming features they're adding. Like, now there's native Discord compatibility. Like, they focused heavily on software more than the hardware. And it's concerning, because if the Note 10 is the power user phone, why not brag about it? And that's why I say, to me, it doesn't feel like the Note 10 is an upgrade over the Note 9. It doesn't feel like it. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Josh, what are you talking about? Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, yes, if you have a maxed out version of the Note 9, I do not recommend that you upgrade to the Note 10. And this kind of goes back to the same thing that, I told myself, and I've told many of you guys before, and I've shared this opinion with John Prosser about it, when it comes to regarding the smartphone market. The smartphones have gotten to the point that they're so good, there's no reason to constantly upgrade every year. The Note 9 is a more than capable phone, especially that it got the One UI before the S10s did, so that's very interesting. It's a very powerful phone. The A45 is still a very powerful processor. Yes, it's not as power efficient as the A55, but it's still more than capable. It's not like the A35, and there's still a lot of good benefits, clearly. And obviously the Note 9 keeps the headphone jack. You get a 1440p display, very big display. Obviously, stereo speakers, kind of a deal breaker for some people, but that's up to you. And obviously, yes, like the S Pen and everything is a very big thing, because that was also something they upgraded as well in the Note 10 was the S Pen. They added new gyro controls for the S Pen, but obviously I think that's I would say it is a gimmick, but it is a interesting thing that they decided to go with. I'm not going to bash it, because there makes no sense. Like, we want people to be innovative, right? So I just don't think this is something that consumers will use on the regular basis. I don't think. And I know Quan had a very stern opinion regarding the Note 10 launch as well, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was with Edgar when the Note 10 event happened, and I was like, oh, this is happening today? I forgot. And that's kind of hard for me to say, especially because I always keep up with a lot of this stuff. So the fact that I forgot and didn't even bother to care, that should give you a kind of concerning sign, guys. Now, I don't believe that the Note 10 is an upgrade over the Note 9. I think incrementally, yes. On the fundamental level, no. Because you essentially are pushing your consumers in the direction to buy one model and just ignore another. And I get it. There'll still be people that will buy the regular Note 10, but you would look like a fool if you did, because you're compromising in areas that you shouldn't. The Note 10, like the S lineup, and this is where I'll go into, like I said, as I mentioned, the OnePlus 7 Pro. To me, I do not see the benefit of paying the premium for the Note 10 Plus. I don't. Let me explain. So, these are the two phones I'm going to bring up to you guys and present the argument for it. So, we have the Note 7, we have the OnePlus 7 Pro, and then we have the S10 Plus. So, to me, for Samsung users, for me, it makes sense that you skip the Note. If you don't need the S Pen and you just want a Galaxy phone, I would just buy the S10 Plus, because you're getting everything that the Note has. The only difference is you're not getting the pen. That's the only thing you're not getting. And I think it makes more logical sense to skip the pen and just get the Plus, because you're getting more for your money. You're not being ripped off, because you're getting your headphone jack, you're getting your micro SD card slot, you're still getting water resistance. You're not even getting an 855 Plus either, which was the rumor that it would have made sense that, yes, then I would go for the Note 10 if it had an A55 Plus, but it didn't. It only has a regular A55. So it kind of limits you going for it because it's essentially just a Note. It's just an S10. That's all it is. It's just an S10 Plus. And it's concerning to me. And then you have the OnePlus 7 Pro, which arguably for the power user, I'd say is the better phone. Yes, I will agree that not having the water resistance is a big thing, but even then, water resistance on phones are a very, I'd say, is a dumb thing, especially because if you crack your phone, if you're constantly someone that doesn't take care of your phones, it doesn't matter if your phone has an IP68 water and dust resistance, because if it's cracked, it's going to get in. So it doesn't matter because it just nulls and voids the water resistance. So you're pretty much screwed on there. And when you think about it, it has the same UFS 3.0. It has a similar size display. It has obviously the same gaming performance and everything. It has, I'd say, exceptionally more battery life. It has I'd say, better display because of the 90 hertz. Obviously, yes, it doesn't have like the in-screen fingerprint sensor like the Notes or Galaxy to begin with, which are with actually a sensor instead of just, flashing a light on there. And overall, yes, there are some areas, but is that price difference $300 more? And that's what I want to present with you guys is, why are you spending more for less? And that's why I made the argument you can just get a 7 Pro or you can just get an S10 Plus if you really love Galaxy phones. Because to me, the Note 10 looks like an easy skip. The regular size, yes, it is a skip. It's essentially they had it there just to entice people to go for the Plus. And then don't even get me started with the 5G model, which I always tell people there's no point in buying a 5G model because 5G phones are stupid. Like, the reason I say they're stupid, and let me elaborate a bit. The reason they're dumb is because 5G is not going to be ready until 5 years from now when it's actually in a healthy position in the US. The point of buying it now is the same thing I tell people when they think about buying RTX on graphics cards. It's dumb. It does not matter right now. Why are you spending more when your card's going to be outdated by the time that feature is going to be widely adapted? And I tell people this all the time and they think I'm crazy, but it's logical. It's logical sense. It does. You sound irrational when you say that it doesn't make sense. You sound irrational. And this is where I tell people, to me, the Note 10 is an easy skip. And some people find that, oh, Josh, you're hating, I just hate Samsung, Apple tard. Like, no, it's not that. Because obviously you guys know I will not hesitate to bash any company. I will not defend any company. If you clearly have done something stupid, I will not take sides. I will be as objective as I possibly can be, but I'll also present my opinion and my viewpoint on how I'm viewing this and what angle I'm coming from. And I'm mainly coming from a power user perspective. I'm not coming from the same perspective as Juan, where Juan is more of a photography and audio-based user. Those features are very important to him. And we talked about this in the episode. I know I keep plugging it, but it's a very honest viewpoint. Like, it's very hard to be objective in technology, because unless if it's just arguably something that is bad and is universally agreed this is bad, then yes, that's where you can be objective. But when it comes to smartphones, it is a very subjective thing. It's like audio. Audio is a very subjective thing, even though, yes, objectively, there are bad options. And the reality is Bluetooth is not a viable option on a professional standpoint. It's not. And the Note 10 for me just seems like a skip because you're paying more for less, because you can get the same phone in the OnePlus 7 Pro. Yes, you won't get a micro SD card slot, but even then, for me, if you already have internal storage that's reading and writing that fast, and we have a lot of cloud-based storages, do you really need almost a terabyte and a half on your phone? Do you really need it? Because I highly doubt any of you take that many photos. Like, even my sister, when she had over 10,000 photos on her phone, that was on a 16 gigabyte phone. Let that sink in. That was 16 gigabytes on a phone. And she still made it fit. Obviously, yes, right now she has a 256 gigabyte phone right now. And she hasn't even used more than 10%. She hasn't even used like 220 gigs. Hasn't even used like 25 gigs in that range. She hasn't. You get what I'm saying, guys? Like, realistically, 128 is overkill for most people. 64, I'd say, is now becoming obsolete, and I think 128 should be the base minimum. But 256 is perfectly fine, especially when it's reading and writing that fast. You're getting the same amount of RAM. You're just not getting official IP water and dust resistance. But even then, when people say IP water and dust resistance, they really mean IP68. And anything else is garbage compared to them, which I think is dumb. And I will defute those claims as long as I can. I will not hesitate to defuse those claims. The headphone jack, yes, both of the phones don't have it. So that's why I said is if you really want the headphone jack and you want your micro SD card slot, but you want a Galaxy phone, to me, the S10 makes the most logical sense. And, that's why I said is some people said, okay, that's fine and dandy, but I still want the Note 10. Should I buy the Plus or should I buy the regular? And I think the answer is simple, guys. Like, if you're really that stubborn and you just want to get a Note and you want, I would say just buy the Plus, but even then, I would say you're better off just buying a Note 9 refurbished or even like a good condition one. Like, there's people that will sell it. Like, people are trying to sell them now. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. To me, the Note 10 seemed like a very disappointing phone this year. All the camera software and everything, that's going to be great. I can't wait to see how that plays out. But even then, is that really worth that big of a premium price jump for you can get the same experience somewhere else? Is that extra premium worth it? And to me, it's not. But like I said, that is my opinion. I don't know how you guys use your phones. I don't know what you're using your phones for. I don't know what you're expecting when you buy a phone. Because everybody has different expectations when buying something. I tell people if they're just looking for a phone with clean software and a good camera, then yes, I would just buy the Pixel 3a. Don't buy anything else, just a 3a. If you're looking for a very speedy phone with flagship level specs, flagship looking appearance, but it's not flagship level price, then I would say the OnePlus 7 Pro for sure. And if you just like iPhones, then I would say always the XR. The XR was obviously the best option for me, but that's like I said, different people, different preferences. Samsung, like I said, when it comes to the Galaxy lineup, to me, if you really want a Note, I would just buy the Note 9, or I would just buy an S10 Plus. That's what I would recommend. Overall, I'm very disappointed in how the Note lineup turned out this year. I wasn't expecting Samsung to do this, where it was very disappointing. It's sad to me. To me, it's sad because you expected a lot of this phone, and it was the most hyped up phone of the year, and then it didn't deliver. And obviously, yes, we still have two big heavy hitters for the remainder of the year. We have obviously the next iPhone, and then we have the next Pixel. Obviously, the Pixel to me seems like the most enticing option of the year so far. We don't know what OnePlus is going to do. I highly doubt they're going to make another one, especially with the Pro, because obviously it wouldn't make sense for the 7T to be better than the Pro, because the 7 Pro is the Pro version and the T was always a turbo version, but it always depends on what they want to do with it. I don't know if they're making a 7T. I haven't heard any rumors about it or anything like that. So I think I'm just going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Obviously, yes, we didn't do the episode over the Twitch stuff, and I know I'm sorry about that, but we will do it next week for sure. It will be next Friday's episode. Obviously, Wednesdays is the 50th episode special, so that's where I'm going to pump out everything I've been working on for the past few months now, or really the last month since working on it. I really hope you guys enjoy that episode. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be over a topic that is very interesting, very educational episode in my opinion. And obviously you guys get to enjoy the new intro and the other thing that was put in there. But overall, thank you guys so much for your time. I love you guys to death. I thank you guys so much for coming back and listening to these episodes. To me, I just want to take a little bit of time and just say thank you guys. Obviously, I've been doing this since January. We hit over 400 downloads, and to me, that's incredible to me. I've never expected to get this big so quick. To me, I was only expecting probably less than 100 by this point, and the fact that we quadrupled that makes me just shocked. I'm grateful for you guys for all that. It really means a lot to me that you guys keep coming back, keep listening, keep sharing, and you guys are doing all this stuff to support me in the show. And to me, that means a lot. Obviously, it's a very interesting journey. Obviously, I'm learning a lot along the way. I've talked to some incredible people along the way, as you guys can already tell. And I hope it just keeps going that way. And I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for this opportunity I've been given. I'm very humbled that you guys are supporting me the way you do, whether it be just financially or actually just listening to the episodes. Either way, it works for me, guys. It means a lot to me. I thank you guys so much for your time and taking, time out of your day to listen to this stuff. And I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And I hope that what I talked about today is not a direct attack on the people that like the Note phones, but I hope that it helps us to not be so brand loyalty blind, essentially, and that we be honest with ourselves and we try to be as objective as we can be, but at least understanding what are we looking for in a phone, and then what is our perspective, like what are we focusing in on specifically, and what is driving our opinion. And I hope that we keep that discussion going, like, in that healthy direction. Obviously, yes, next week with the Twitch bias episode, I'm going to be a little bit more strict, guys, because it's a very concerning thing. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about, and I really hope you guys come back and listen. Thank you guys so much for your time. I love you guys to death. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Be safe, guys. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.